wasn't does the Twitter stuff from Tony hurt AEW and turn fans away, in Eric's opinion?
I think it damages the brand overall because it's childish. It's not really very entertaining. It's not smart. It's like his show, not compelling. It's embarrassing more than anything. It's embarrassing. And I think fans are beginning the goodwill. One of the things I talked about almost 2 years ago when I went on a rant, similar to the one I'm on today, was Tony came in, AEW showed up. There was so much goodwill. There were so many people, including me, while I was working for WWE.
How do you fire the boss? How do you quiet the boss? How do you tell the guy who is signing the checks that he should probably shut up? You can't. You just can't. Which leads me to the topic of today, that AEW really has got a Tony Khan problem. Tony Khan and his behavior, much of it is very public and very loud and also very phony. And I'll get into that in a second. It's very off-putting. Now, what do I mean? Well, clearly, this Super Tuesday thing did not go the way that he wanted it to go. And because of that, he went on an absolute meltdown on Twitter. He went on a tirade. And it's per the usual. When things don't go well for Tony Khan, when he's having a rough night, the first thing he does is he runs to Twitter and he starts taking jabs at people. And he starts taking jabs at Vince McMahon. He's been doing that for a little while now. But then he kind of went a little bit overboard and he decided he was going to take a shot at Undertaker and John Cena. And then he says that, there was review bombing on Cage Match to make his show look like it was worse than the other shows. I mean, it's a lot, it's a lot. And let's go into it. So on Cage Match, I did a video already on that, but for those of you who probably didn't watch that far, at the time of the recording of that video, I don't know if it's changed. I'm not a Cage Match guy, but at the time, NXT was rated higher than AEW Dynamite on Cage Match. It was like 8.54 versus 8.45 for the Title Tuesday, Super Tuesday comparison. So NXT fans enjoyed NXT more than AEW fans enjoyed AEW. And Tony Khan then went on Twitter and claimed that there were bots and people review bombing Dynamite. He says this: on the Title Tuesday Dynamite reviews, amidst scores of 1s and 3s, two totally unique users who are definitely not the same person used a very common expression, shows how bad he is at being a normal person, on the same day reviewing the same show. My response to this is, why does Tony Khan care? TBS is not going to look at Cage Match and decide whether to give you money based off of what they say on Cage Match. Brother, nobody cares. You're a billionaire. Nobody has ever needed a pet or a girlfriend more than Tony Khan. I mean, he needs something to love on. He needs something to hug at night. He needs something to spend his time with outside of Elon Musk's Twitter. So he then continues on, and this was the one that got him a lot of attention, especially a lot of negative attention. The comment he made about Undertaker and John Cena. He said, this week, 2 active, decades-long rating streaks from 2 great legends were ended. With all due respect, until this week's head-to-head AEW on TBS versus WWE on USA, neither John Cena nor Undertaker had ever been on a WWE show with under 1 million total viewers, plus under 400,000 in the demo. Now, a lot of people and there's a contingent of AEW fans that are clapping like seals because Tony Khan he's throwing shots at Undertaker and John Cena. And other people are looking at this and saying to themselves, look, the Shawn Michaels thing where he's talking about Shawn Michaels is not going to win Booker of the Year because of the quality of NXT. I think he called Triple H a bald asshole or something to that effect. All of this stuff, it's one thing to take shots at Vince. Vince is, the government tries to take down Vince and they're not going to do anything. So your comments about Vince McMahon doesn't really bother him or anyone else. Nobody's going to have sympathy for the devil. But when you take your shots at Triple H and Shawn and Cena and Undertaker, now people are like, what is going on with this guy? I mean, it's so bad. The tweets, the behavior, the gimmick of Tony Khan, that even the wrestling media is starting to ask people about it. So this is from House of Wrestling. They wrote an entire article about Tony Khan's behavior. And in the middle of this article, it says, Fightful reports that AEW PR does not clear Khan's tweets before they go out. But even still, several people were surprised his latest tweet taking shots at Undertaker and John Cena got published. Some within the company felt he should not have tweeted it out, while others believe he was simply making light of a bad situation. It was noted that as Khan had everyone's attention on X, Twitter, he used the chance to announce several Dynamite matches on his platform. On today's Wrestling Observer Live, Brian Alvarez said he had heard from people within WWE and AEW who would like Khan to lay off with his tweets. Can somebody get this guy off his phone? That seems to be the general sentiment he is hearing. House of Wrestling sent Khan's quote tweet of our story to many people in the business, and the reaction is similar to what Alvarez describes. One source in WWE I spoke with described him as petulant, while others felt it was just a bad look. A source from CM Punk's camp responded by saying this is the kind of stuff that makes him happy to be away from the company. It's not looking good. The tweets and stuff is not entertaining. All right? It's not like he is doing something that is, a gimmick and it's fun. It's a thing that is a gimmick for sure, but it's not necessarily fun. And it's mostly done to rile people up, but not get people to actually watch his product. It doesn't get over any wrestler that he has on his roster. It doesn't make any show that he's had bigger. If anything, it creates a sense of hubris where you want to see him get brought down. You want to see him get humbled. He puts himself in the heel position when he had all the momentum 4 years ago of being the babyface. This gimmick that Tony Khan has decided to have is ruining AEW. And we're not even just talking about the booking. We talked about the booking before. We've talked about how he should manage his talent better. We've talked about that for years. We've talked about the production issues, the terrible audio, the bad editing, how they frame and actually film people blading on television. We can talk about that. We talk about that every week. This is specifically about Tony Khan's behavior, how he is off-putting, how he is running away people, how he has people who was on his side that are now flipping and they don't like him. How he's run off people by trying to be this smart ass. And we just say to ourselves like, look, enough's enough. Look, we get it. You're not Vince McMahon. My question is, why should I watch your show? What is it about your show that should get me to watch it? And you have no idea how many people you are repelling with your behavior. And that's really the main crux of the issue here, is Tony Khan's challenger brand gimmick that was given to him, as he said, by Warner Brothers. And it's a gimmick, believe it or not. Does he act like this when it comes to soccer? No. Does he act like this when it comes to football? No. Why is it only wrestling where he comes out and I don't see him trashing like Jerry Jones or anything like that? talking about the ghost of Al Davis or something, going off on Dan Snyder. He doesn't do any of that shit when it comes to the NFL. He only does it with wrestling. Because wrestling fans are so low IQ that they buy into it. Tony Khan's just doing what a promoter do. This guy owns multiple teams. He doesn't act like this in any other sphere except the wrestling sphere because it's a gimmick and it's off-putting and it's not real. When we see that dork dancing around with the wrestlers on stage, we laugh at him, but it's in some ways endearing. The fact that he really loves the talent, the fact that he's going out here hugging them, even caressing them, even at the talent's lack of comfort, But that's who we think Tony Khan is. When he comes out here trying to be witty and biting and a conspiracy nuts about how everybody's trying to combine like Voltron to bring him down, and everybody just looks and says, what is wrong with this dude? Why is he acting like that? Like, we make fun of it, but if it's genuine, people will eventually get over it and be like, you know what, that's his genuine behavior, his genuine attitude. And I didn't attack the guy for dancing on his birthday with the wrestlers. I didn't attack the guy for having a birthday party for himself in front of the fans. I didn't make fun of him for that. He worked on his birthday. If I were the son of a billionaire, I would not be working on my birthday. I can tell you that right now. But also, there is something genuine about the dorkiness of Tony Khan. When you see Tony Khan acting like an absolute dork in public, hugging wrestlers, dancing with them, trying to do the Daniel Garcia, that's the guy we were introduced to when AEW started. That's the guy who's, he's just happy to be here. He's going to do something because it's fun with the fans, and he's trying to put smiles on faces. He doesn't take himself too seriously. And there's something interesting about that. There's something genuine about that. But when it comes to Tony Khan and his swelled ego, he tries to put a chip on his shoulder about his company, or when he wants to take shots and be a challenger brand, everybody looks at that and says, not only is it phony, it's off-putting. He's not good at this. All right? He's not good at this, and he should not be the face of AEW. He should not be the guy doing interviews. He should not be the guy constantly tweeting. It should not be him. He should not be the star. Tony Khan has done an extremely poor job of getting people to watch AEW. Because as a guy who goes on television, who's trying to be open, he's trying to be accessible, but every time he does a mainstream interview, he never gives any real answers to any questions. A lot of it is misdirection. And you sit back wondering yourself, why am I listening to this? Like the Dan Le Batard interview, I didn't even listen to it because there's nothing coming out of here. Why is he talking? Put somebody else on that's going to at least say something interesting to get people to want to watch your show. Because there's nothing going to come out of Tony Khan's mouth. And the only thing people want to ask him about is backstage stuff about CM Punk or whatever. And he's not going to answer those questions. He's not going to answer those questions. He's not going to say anything remotely interesting that's going to bolster his show. If anything, it does nothing but throw red meat to the anti-WWE audience. We hate Vince. We hate Triple H. We hate Shawn Michaels. So that's great. It's like, yeah. But that doesn't mean I have to watch your show. Oh, you reminded me that Vince, had sex with a paralegal again. How does that make me want to watch your show? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Using blanket statements. We're going to have a great show. We're going to have one of the greatest shows. We're going to have one of our best shows. We're going to sell a lot of tickets. We're going to have some great wrestling. We're going to have great fans. We have great fans. Everybody's great. It's like, this stuff's boring. You're a boring interview. Get off the stage. Where are the personalities who can get on the stage and make me say, I kind of want to watch that guy on TV? Look, it's not just the booking at this point. It's the personality, the persona, the gimmick. that is Tony Khan.
And Tony, what you have done is you have made yourself the face of AEW. You have done that. Vince McMahon was never the face of the WWE. And if Triple H takes over, I promise you, Triple H will never be the face of the WWE. Ted Turner was not the face of TBS. Dixie Carter was not the face of TNA. You have made yourself the face of AEW. You have put yourself ahead of the talent. And I got to tell you something, Tony. One thing I learned day one in the wrestling business, without the talent, there's nothing. Without your talent, you have nothing. That's why wherever I was, man, the talent was always number one. Without them, there's nothing. So the talent should always be out there in the forefront first. We are talking about a company that started with the Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega. They were the face of the company from day one, bro, when there was that press conference in Vegas. But slowly but surely, Tony, you made yourself the face of the company. And you made yourself more important than everybody else on your roster. Now, why do I say that? It's real simple, bro. You do every interview. You go on every show. You are answering people on social media that have 25 followers. Tony, that's where you put the talent. Let the talent do the Dan Liebetard shows. Let the talent do Busted Open. Get your talent out there. Showcase your talent. That is what is going to fuel the company, Tony, not you. Your talent is going to fuel the company. And for casual fans, bro, they are nameless, faceless people. And that's why you need to put them out there to get them over, to let people get familiar with them. But bro, every time there's an AEW headline, every time there's an AEW interview, who is it? It's you, Tony. It's you, and it's your face, and it's birthday celebrations, and it's dancing with the talent, and it's sitting center stage during every scrum. Why are you at those scrums?
I don't think he's a bad person, but it's clear that whatever gimmick he's trying to run, it's not working. It ain't getting over. When he was on Impact doing that gimmick and he was dissing Impact, I was like, why is he doing that? He's supposed to be a partner of Impact and he's dogging Impact. And it was supposed to be like, oh, when Vince was being a heel in Memphis and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, Vince is better at it. You're just not that good. You're not good at what you're trying to do here. You're just memeing. You're cosplaying. You're cosplaying a wrestling promoter. You want to be like, Bill Watts or Vince McMahon, or you want to be like Eric Bischoff or whatever, but you just don't have it in you. You've read stories about these guys, but it's not you. It's not who you are. When Bill Watts went ape on Vince McMahon on television, particularly when Mean Gene Okerlund wrestled a match, Bill Watts was pissed. All right? WrestleMania pissed Bill Watts off, but it came from the heart. People knew that was genuinely Bill Watts. That's how he thinks. That's what he believes. Nobody truly believes that when it comes out of Tony Khan. They know he's just working his gimmick. Oh, he's just trying to rile up people. This is how they did it in the Monday Night Wars. It's like those times people were being legitimate. Vince with the Nacho Man, that's how Vince McMahon is. How many years did we watch Vince mock people? Whether it's JR or Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage or the Ultimate Warrior. We just watched him mock people over and over and over again, even making mockeries of himself. It's who he is. It's legitimate. So people can accept it because it's real. Whether you like it or not, at least he's being real. At least he's being himself. Tony Khan is one person in a different realm, and he's a different person in this realm. Go watch an XFL Vince McMahon promo. And it is a promo because he's in character when he's talking about the National Football League. It's kind of boring. Where's my football? It's like he's being Vince. He's being him. You don't know whether that's Mr. McMahon or just regular Vince McMahon being boisterous. When he's doing the World Bodybuilding Federation, the over-the-top character of everything, that's Vince. That's who he is. Everybody knows that at this point. 50 years of it. Tony Khan was introduced to us as a mousy guy focused on the analytics of pro wrestling. And now he's trying to be wrestling promoter, fight promoter. And everybody's looking like, you ain't witty enough. Nobody respects you. We're looking at you like you're the guy who hugs. I'm saying like deeply hugs his talent. If you really like these guys and love these talents, use them. Give them the platform. Step back. Stop tweeting. If you want to retweet some stuff MJF retweeted because you want to signal boost him, fine. You get a booking for Busted Open Radio or Dan Le Batard, give it to MJF or give it to somebody else. Don't take it yourself. You're not going to give any answers. And if you're just going to go up there to talk crap about Triple H or Shawn Michaels or whatever, spare it. That's not going to make anybody watch your show. Your talent will, however, get people to watch your show. But what happens when people don't respect you? And this is what happens when you're throwing tantrums, when you're pitching a bitch. The talent stop respecting you. This is why CM Punk said what he said. This is why Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo and Jim Cornette and so many other people, and these people don't always get along. These people who definitely disagree on most things agree on one thing, and that is your behavior is incredibly off-putting, and your booking and your shows are not as good as you think they are.
I mean, what could pull the nose up on AEW? Get Tony away from booking? ?
Yeah, Tony should find a way to find satisfaction in being the guy that put it all together and oversees it in its growth and hand off creative to somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing. When it comes to managing talent, certainly creating the show, producing television, because he clearly doesn't have it. And he's the mistakes that he's making. It reminds me of, one of the things that made me lose so much respect for Tony almost 2 years ago to the day. I should pull up the post, but essentially it said, if Ted Turner knew 1% about wrestling as I do, WCW would still be around. Well, let me tell you something, Tony Khan. If you knew 0.5% of what Ted Turner knows about producing television, you might not have got embarrassed the way you were embarrassed last night. Tony's so focused on being the next Paul Heyman or being the next Vince McMahon or Paul Levesque. That's what he's focused on. And he needs to focus on the product, his product, not the WWE product. He needs to focus on his own product, and he needs to find people who are more talented than he to take over creative. It's that simple.
And like I said before, you're being given the biggest message of all: dwindling ratings, empty arenas. It's time to change course. It's time to drop the gimmick. No more of this challenger brand gimmick. I don't care what Warner Brothers told you to do. Just tell them This is dividing our fan base. It's pissing people off. It's making people actively root against us. It makes your job more difficult. And even more so, you lose respect. As the promoter, you have to have a certain level of respect. Why do you think Vince can do some of the stuff that he can do? Because he still has a tremendous amount of respect. Even if he has personal flaws, he still has a tremendous amount of respect. And people will put aside personal issues for respect. If people respected Tony Khan, they would not pay too much attention to him dancing or him doing the hugs. Because, again, they would say, well, genuinely speaking, can't hate the guy for being who he is. But this is not who Tony Khan is. This is a gimmick. It's time for them to stop the gimmicks. Drop the gimmicks. All right? Let it go.
I'm serious. I'm not going to sit back and take this fucking shit.